The top stories tonight in Y News. Over 700 Filipino nurses contract COVID-19 in the United Kingdom.
The first reported U.S. case, the COVID-19 variant found in UK, has been discovered in Colorado.
The Philippines is now banning entry of travelers from more countries that reported cases of the new COVID-19 variant. Presidential Security Group Commander Brigadier General Jesus Durante takes full responsibility for the use of unregistered COVID-19 vaccines on PSG personnel.
At least 7 people were killed as strong earthquake battles Croatia.
And WhatsApp to disable access on old smartphones starting January 1 next year. Good evening, Philippines and the world. Today is Wednesday, December 30, 2020. I am William Theo.
Join us in the next hour as we deliver today's top stories around the country and in other parts of the world. I'm Angelo Castro III.
We are also seen in 1,935 satellite monitoring centers nationwide and via live streaming worldwide through the UNTV News and Rescue social media accounts and our website, untvweb.com. I am Kat Dumarao.
Yes, Jovic.
William, the Philippine Overseas Labor Office or POLA in London reported to Labor Secretary Silvestre III that at least 26 nurses and a healthcare worker here in the United Kingdom were tested positive for coronavirus in the last 2 days, bringing the total infected nurses to 776. Labor Attaché Amy Reyes said the fresh cases of infection is part of the UK's 53,135 cases, with 414 deaths recorded on December 29. The National Health Service or NHS hospitals are under extreme pressure due to the surge of COVID-19 cases. According to Reyes, the 25 infected Filipino nurses and the healthcare worker are now in isolation and are being provided with assistance. 9 of those nurses who contracted COVID-19 were deployed in the UK only this year, while the rest have been working here since 2019. The labor attaché, however, did not confirm whether the frontliners were infected by the new coronavirus strain. Reyes also reported that 2 nurses who were previously infected had recovered, bringing the total number of recoveries to 614, while 36 had died. She also added 1 Filipino nurse and a healthcare worker who have been long-time UK residents are both in critical condition. Labor Secretary said that it is sad to note that the new wave of infection in the UK involves more of our frontline workers. Meanwhile, other foreign posts of the Labor Department in Europe are experiencing surge in COVID-19 cases. William?
Yes, thank you. Jovic Burmas reporting live from London, United Kingdom. Officials in Colorado are encouraging its residents to follow health and safety guidelines after the first reported case in the U.S. of the COVID-19 variant has been discovered in the state. Miguel Rey de Leon reports.
The first case of the COVID-19 variant first discovered in the United Kingdom has been discovered in Colorado, according to an announcement made by Governor Jared Polis. According to the governor, the Colorado State Laboratory confirmed and notified the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention of a male individual in his 20s who is currently in isolation in Elbert County. He has no travel history according to state health officials. Investigation still remains through contact tracing interviews, but no close contacts have been identified so far. Not much is known about the COVID-19 variant, but UK scientists warns that it is much more contagious. For now, Governor Polis is encouraging Coloradans to continue to follow health guidelines to prevent disease transmission, such as wearing a mask, standing 6 feet apart, and only interacting with members of their immediate household. Miguel Rey de Leon, UNTV News and Rescue, USA. We serve the people, we give glory to God.
The Philippines is banning the entry of travelers from more countries that have reported cases of the new COVID-19 variant found in the UK. But those do not include the United States of America yet. Aiko Miguel explains why.
The country will soon impose a travel ban for foreigners coming from the United States of America. According to Health Secretary Francisco Duque III, this is in accordance with our existing policy that once a country has a confirmed COVID-19 variant from UK, it will be included in the travel ban list.
Yes, isasama natin pangsamantala. Remember, this is not a permanent ban. This is only a temporary ban to give us time to assess our situation and to check whether this new variant has already arrived in the Philippines or not yet.
But Undersecretary Maria Rosario Vergere clarified that they are still waiting for the U.S. government to submit a notice to the World Health Organization International Health Regulations before the government can formally include the U.S. on the list. Once this is approved, there will be 21 countries, including United Kingdom, that are banned to enter in the country. The DOH expects more countries to be included. The country's borders will be strictly monitored so no variant of COVID-19 from UK can enter the country. Experts are examining samples in the country to make sure there is no variant from UK.
The Philippine Genome Center, the RITM, and the National Institutes of Health are already starting to do their genome sequencing just to identify if this variant is already here.
Meanwhile, experts explain the meaning of variant discovered in the United Kingdom. According to Dr. Edsel Salvana, there is only one strain of COVID-19 and mutations are common in viruses.
Genetically, isa lang ang strain ng SARS-CoV-2. Kasi yung SARS-CoV, MERS-CoV, these are all strains of coronavirus. So, ang strain lang natin ng SARS-CoV-2 is iisa. And then any mutations to that strain is called a variant. And then if at some point dumami talaga yung mutations na hindi na gumagana yung bakuna or iba na yung response na antibody, that's the only time masasabihin mo na may bagong strain na nag-i-emerge.
Also, according to experts, COVID-19 case surge should be prevented, so mutation can also be prevented, and to prevent the overwhelming of health system capacity in the country. Aiko Miguel, UNTV News and Rescue. We serve the people, we give glory to God.
The Overseas Workers Welfare Administration is hoping that the new travel ban will not extend to more countries in order to prevent our quarantine hotels from being fully occupied by the overseas Filipino workers. Some OFWs have expressed their disappointment over the government's strict implementation of the 14-day mandatory quarantine on those who are coming from countries covered by the travel ban. Joe Anano tells us why.
In order to prevent the recurrence of the government's previous problem where quarantine hotels were fully booked by overseas Filipino workers undergoing isolation, OWA Administrator Hans Leo Kakdak is hoping that there will be no more countries that will be covered by the new travel ban. Based on the latest resolution released by the agency task force, the travel ban covers 20 countries that have existing cases of the new variant of COVID-19. Admin Kakdak says that if the travel ban will be expanded, it might congest our quarantine hotels.
Pinagdarasal talaga natin na kailangan bantayan talaga yung listahan na yun kasi once pumasok dyan yung malalaking bansa kung saan nandun ang mga OFWs natin, yun na. So we're hoping and praying.
Despite of this possibility, the Office of the Transportation Security, who is managing the one-stop shop, says that as of now, the situation is still under control and the government is prepared and have the capacity to accommodate all OFWs that need to undergo the mandatory quarantine. OTS Administrator Undersecretary Raul del Rosario says that in anticipation of those additional arrivals of OFWs that are required to undergo with the 14-day quarantine, the Department of Transportation, along with the Civil Aviation Authority of the Philippines, decided to limit the arrivals in Ninoy Aquino International Airport. From the previous 5,000 arrivals, they will limit it to 2,000 passengers per day.
And we expect further decrease kasi napag-usapan na rin ng DOTR air sector to reduce the volume of yung capacity natin sa MIA to further reduce yung capacity dahil nga in anticipation na baka mapuno yung mga hotels natin.
Meanwhile, the Bureau of Immigration assures that even though OFWs are exempted from the travel ban, all of their immigration officers are doing strict screening to make sure that people who are entering the country are those that are only allowed by the government.
Dadaan pa rin po sila ng swabbing. Pagdating po nun, dadaan po sila ng immigration. If we see po that they are coming from the countries that are included in the most recent travel restrictions, we refer them po to the one-stop shop para po sa implementation ng 14-day quarantine.
With the strict implementation of the 14-day quarantine period, some OFWs are complaining over that long period that they have to stay in the quarantine hotels, while some opted to cancel the trip going back to the Philippines so as to avoid spending 2 weeks under isolation.
Sana na lang po, 3 days na lang. Kasi nakakainip yung mag-stay din para kang bilanggo.
Yun nga, 2 weeks pa. Tapos ang bibigyan ka lang ng bakasyon ng amo mo is 2 weeks din ang ibibigay sa'yo. So, paano yun? Maubos yung araw mo sa quarantine. So, yun na lang. Hindi ka na lang muna talaga uuwi.
Joanano, UNTV News and Rescue. We serve the people, we give glory to God.
The Philippine Genome Center said it could confirm whether the new coronavirus variant circulating in the United Kingdom has already entered the Philippines by middle of January 2021. In an interview, PGC Executive Director Dr. Cynthia Saloma said the genome sequencing for the samples from the airport and the positive patients from November and December will be done in one go. Saloma said the sample of the COVID-positive traveler from the UK who recently arrived in the country will also be included in the samples that the PGC will be sequencing. Saloma advised the public to continue observing health protocols such as wearing of face masks and face shields, and frequent hand washing amid the threat of the new coronavirus variant. The Department of Health reported 580 new recoveries, pushing the country's total number of recovered cases from the coronavirus disease 2019 to 439,509. In its 4 p.m. case bulletin, the DOH said the figures represent 93% of those who tested positive for the virus that has so far beaten the illness. The agency also logged 1,014 new confirmed cases and 68 new deaths. These figures brought the overall tally of confirmed cases to 472,532 and the death toll to 9,230. Quezon City topped the list of places that reported the most number of new cases with 67 infections. It was followed by Benguet with 57, City of Makati with 48, Bulacan with 44, and Laguna with 40. The DOH reminded the public to observe minimum public health standard at all times.
For those watching us on YouTube, please click the subscribe button you see on the right side of your screen and ring the bell for notification. You may also follow us on Facebook.
Amid continued uproar over the unauthorized inoculation of the president's top man, National Defense Secretary Delfin Lorenzana confirmed that the COVID-19 vaccines used by the Presidential Security Group entered the country illegally. Dante Amento tells us why.
The vaccines given to some personnel of the Presidential Security Group or PSG did not pass the Food and Drug Administration or FDA approval. Thus, Defense Secretary Delfin Lorenzana said the PSG should explain because it was a violation of the FDA rules.
It's smuggled because they're not authorized. Hindi authorized na mag-pasok dito. Only the government can authorize that for the FDA.
But Lorenzana clarifies that the vaccines were not fake and had no negative effects.
Anyway, yung vaccine naman hindi fake. Totoo naman, hindi naman sila nagkaroon ng side effects. At sa tingin ko ay okay naman epekto sa kanila to protect them so that they will not be infected at saka at the same time maprotektahan nila yung presidente.
Lorenzana further admitted that he already knew about the vaccination of the soldiers long before the issue was made publicly by no less than President Duterte, but he noted that he was unaware who gave the green light to perform the vaccination. He said he will not allow the personnel of the Armed Forces of the Philippines to be inoculated with unregistered vaccines, though the AFP had recently admitted that some military personnel were vaccinated.
Huwag muna, kailangan sundin natin yung procedure. Meron tayo, kaya nga tinatag natin yung FDA para meron tayong procedure dyan eh.
Lorenzana advises the FDA to fast-track the approval of vaccines to be used in the country, for there are already some countries which have started their vaccinations. Dantiamento, UNTV, News and Rescue. We serve the people. We give glory to God.
While Presidential Security Group Commander Brigadier General Jesus Durante said he will take full responsibility for the unregistered vaccines administered to several PSG personnel. Rosalie Cos explains why.
Presidential Security Group Commander Brigadier General Jesus Durante revealed that a handful of his personnel have been vaccinated against the coronavirus in September and October. The official refused to give the exact number of PSG personnel who received the vaccine as well as the particular vaccine used. He also did not comment if he was among those vaccinated. Durante mentioned before that the PSG administered COVID-19 vaccine to its personnel performing close-in security operation to President Rodrigo Duterte. The PSG commander takes full responsibility for using the COVID-19 vaccine not registered before the Food and Drug Administration or FDA. He also said they were not convinced by anyone to do the vaccination, but insisted they took the risk to accomplish their mandate and mission. Brigadier General Durante added it was the PSG personnel who volunteered and did a research about the safety of the traditional vaccine, and they vaccinated themselves. When asked where they got the vaccine, Durante said they asked for it and no government funds were used. Rosalie Cos, UNTV News and Rescue. We serve the people, we give glory to God.
Justice Secretary Menardo Guevara, meanwhile, said he has directed the National Bureau of Investigation, or NBI, to immediately investigate the reported unauthorized distribution and administration of unregistered anti-COVID-19 vaccine. Guevara said the investigation would focus on possible violation of the Food and Drug Administration Act, the Consumers Act, and the Medical Practice Act, among others. When asked if the investigation will zero in on how the China-made COVID-19 vaccine entered the country and administered to some members of the Presidential Security Group, Guevara said he will leave the manner of investigation to the NBI. Health Secretary Francisco Duque III lauded the efforts of his agency in the country's COVID-19 response this year. However, the health chief admitted that there were shortcomings in addressing the health crisis. Aiko Miguel explains why.
Department of Health Secretary Francisco Duque III admitted that there were missteps on the measures of the DOH on the COVID-19 pandemic response in the country this 2020. The health chief admits these mistakes, but also says they have learned from it and will serve as lessons to strengthen the country's COVID-19 response by 2021.
Malaki po ang problema, pinaluhod ng COVID-19 ang buong mundo, no? At tayo, kailangan natin talaga magkaisa dito. Tama ko, may mga missteps, may mga pagkakamali, pero yung mga pagkakamaling iyan ay nagsisilbing mga leksyon para lamang mas maging matagumpay ang tugon sa COVID-19. Lalo na, ang pinag-uusapan dito ay bagong virus. Wala pong magaling sa COVID-19.
Despite this, the Health Secretary gave a high mark to the department staff, officials, and employees on their dedication and perseverance on COVID-19's pandemic response.
I would give them 9 to 10 in terms of great effort, the sincerity to contribute to the national government's pandemic response. Not only to contribute, but having led in the COVID response in every aspects of our 5-point strategy against COVID-19.
Aside from the DOH's priority on the COVID-19 vaccination by 2021, they will also prioritize the expansion of universal health care law. One of this is the immunization of communicable diseases like measles, polio, HIV, and others. Meanwhile, according to the DOH, they will also continuously investigate the conducted COVID-19 vaccination of uniformed personnel using unauthorized vaccines.
Antayin na lamang natin dahil magsasagawa ng investigasyon ang FDA at kasama ang Bureau of Customs, no? Para alamin kung yung bang ano ba yung mga circumstances surrounding the importation, distribution, and the administration of the said vaccines that were used to inoculate the PSG, no, as reported.
Yesterday, FDA Director General Eric Domingo said they were not even asked about the vaccine safety and efficacy administered to them. FDA is also looking on where the vaccines originated and who donated it. Aiko Miguel, UNTV News and Rescue. We serve the people, we give glory to God.
The Philippine National Police Internal Affairs Service recommends the demotion of a police officer involved in an altercation with a female Grab driver. Leia Ilagan will tell us why in this exclusive report.
Police Captain Ronald Sakilayan was found guilty of abuse of power based on the investigation conducted by the PNP Internal Affairs Service. IAS Inspector General Attorney Alfigar Triambolo has recommended to Chief PNP DOLE Sinas to demote Sakilayan.
So ito yung asdan niya doon sa nagpapalis sa kanya sa kalsada na kung saan siya hinaharang. So dito dinapuso niya yung katungkulan niya. Parang pinakilala ng doon sa complainant na opisyal ako. Tapos makikita yung kanyang intention na ganun yung gusto niya ipaliwatag sa complainant na abuso mayabang na pulis. Kaya inutusan pa niya itong mga inosenteng, mga mababang ranggo na aristuhin na wala namang ginawang kasalanan. Kaya nagkakaroon po dyan ng operation. Ang nakita namin na operation sa conduct and becoming.
The demotion of ranks is the second of the highest penalty against the police personnel facing administrative case based on the level of the irregularity they committed.
Ang kanyang penalty ay nasa medium period. So, i-divide po natin ang pinakataas ay dismissal, ang nasa gitna ang demotion at ang pinakamababa ay suspension ayon sa circular po ng NAPOLCOM, kaya ang medium period ay demotion in rank. So, madidemote po siya.
Attorney Triambolo adds, if the Chief PNP approves their recommendation, Sakilayan's position, salary and benefits will be affected.
Hindi muna siya subject sa promotion for 1 year. At siya po ay ibababa doon sa kanyang pwesto na kung yung kanyang posisyon ng chief ng investigator intelligence sa Patiros bilang kapitan niya ay hindi na siya paparawakin ng ganon. Kasi doon na lang siya sa mga posisyon na dapat hawakan sa isang teniente.
But he can still make an appeal to the National Police Commission or NAPOLCOM. Police Captain Sakilayan is the police officer in the viral video having an altercation with a female Grab driver named Florence Norial in Taguig last October. Norial was arrested after allegedly hurting the cop. She claimed it was self-defense after the officer pushed her using his car's door. After almost a week, Norial was released for posting 3,000 bail after the Taguig prosecutor's office decided to charge Norial with unjust vexation. The prosecutor said it did not find probable cause to charge Norial with alarmant scandal, direct assault, and disobedience of a person in authority. Leia Ilagan, UNTV, News and Rescue. We serve the people. We give glory to God.
In other news, job seekers will face stiffer competition come next year, according to the Department of Labor and Employment. But there are also job opportunities for construction and health workers. Ray Pelayo will tell us why.
There are more than 7 million who might be competing for job opportunities in the country for the year 2021. The Department of Labor and Employment said just this year, more than 3 million lost their jobs due to the pandemic, added to around 4.5 million who are unemployed. The Labor Department notes that more than 100,000 enterprises notified the agency of their permanent or temporary closure, while others implemented rearrangement or retrenchment. 2020 fresh graduates will also add to the country's job seekers.
So, ito po ay stiff competition kumbaga, at ang mga job opportunities naman po maaaring hindi ganon kalaki ang ma-generate ng ating ekonomiya na number of employment, kaya hindi niya rin ma-absorb lahat po ng ating mga job seekers in the labor market.
Despite all the challenges in the job market, opportunities awaits job seekers next year. Jobs that will be in demand in 2021 includes nurses, medical technologists, pharmacists, civil, mechanical and electrical engineers, architect, information technology, customer service representatives, programmers, and encoders. Thousands of slots are also waiting in government agencies. While waiting for a job, an applicant can upgrade his or her skill by enrolling on a free online training programs by TESDA.
Kasi isa yan, Ray, sa mga po pwedeng itanong ng prospective employer, what have you done during the pandemic? So if they see na ikaw ay nagsisikap despite the pandemic situation, that is already an added parang points para sa isang job seeker.
DOLE suggests that those who received financial assistance from the government could use it to start a small business that could help their family survive the pandemic. Ray Pelayo, UNTV News and Rescue. We serve the people. We give glory to God.
For those watching us on YouTube, please click the subscribe button you see on the right side of your screen and ring the bell for notification. You may also follow us on Facebook.
Netizens and labor groups expressed dismay over the scheduled contribution hike of the Philippine Health Insurance Corporation or PhilHealth beginning next year. Here's why from Asher Kadapan Jr.
Members of the Philippine Health Insurance Corporation or PhilHealth will be greeted with an increased monthly contribution rate in 2021. From the current 3% premium rate, it will become 3.5% next year. It is equivalent to a monthly contribution of 350 pesos for those who have a monthly basic salary of 10,000 pesos and below, 350 pesos to 2,449 pesos and 99 centavos for those with salary of above 10,000 but below 70,000 respectively, and a fixed contribution of 2,450 pesos for those earning a basic salary of 70,000 pesos and up. The employers and employees, including domestic helpers, equally share the contributions of the employees, while self-paying member, professional practitioners, land-based migrant workers, and other direct contributors with no employee-employer relationship pay the contribution wholly. PhilHealth explained in the statement that the scheduled contribution rate adjustment for 2021 is necessary to ensure sufficient fund for the healthcare benefits of its 110 million members in accordance with Republic Act 11223 or the Universal Healthcare Law. Under the UHC law approved in April, a 0.5% increase will be adjusted in the premium rate of PhilHealth every year until it reaches its 5% limit in 2025. Although PhilHealth recognizes the current situation brought about by the pandemic affecting several businesses and livelihoods, the institution emphasizes the need to implement the law, which aims for better healthcare services, especially as the country battles the COVID-19. But netizens express their dismay against its implementation amid the crisis and controversies PhilHealth faces, particularly the graft and corruption issues. Some labor groups also oppose the contribution hike, which adds burden to both workers and employers.
Mahirap ngayon ang pamumuhay dahil sa pandemic at ikalawa, medyo hindi po maganda ang reputasyon ng PhilHealth dahil dito sa graft and corruption issue na nakapalibot sa PhilHealth.
Pwede naman i-defer yan. Maraming issues na remaining to be clarified. At siguro, ngayon, time na to, lahat ng tao naghihikaw sa pera. So even piso is important to many.
Asher Kadapan Jr., UNTV News and Rescue. We serve the people, we give glory to God.
President Rodrigo Duterte on Wednesday likened healthcare workers in the Philippines against coronavirus disease 2019 to national hero Jose Rizal, who was also a dedicated physician. In his Rizal Day message, President Duterte said he was inspired by healthcare workers for their new expression of heroism in the fight against the invisible enemy. He remembered Rizal for his bravery and patriotism, describing his life as one that not only needed to be celebrated, but also emulated. The president, meanwhile, expressed hope that Filipinos would express love and respect for the nation and follow the examples of Rizal and other modern-day heroes.
The trials we continue to face this year have given rise a new breed of heroes who have shown extraordinary courage in the face of unprecedented challenges. Inspired by the noble example of Rizal, our modern-day heroes
A strong 6.4 magnitude earthquake hit central Croatia, leaving at least 7 people dead and hundreds missing. Marvy Delfin will give us the details live. Yes, Marvy.
A 12-year-old child is among the 7 confirmed dead, and at least 20 people were injured from the earthquake in Croatia, which hit on Tuesday, just before 12:20 p.m. local time. Authorities said that more are still to be accounted for as rescue teams continue to search the rubble for survivors. Throughout Tuesday, many aftershocks occurred, measuring magnitude 3 or slightly stronger. According to the European Mediterranean Seismological Center, the epicenter was 46 kilometers south of the Croatian capital, Zagreb, and the tremors were felt in 12 countries, even places as far away as Austria's capital, Vienna. As a precaution, Slovenia had to shut the Krško nuclear power plant it co-owns with Croatia. Petrinja, a Croatian town of 25,000 people, was the worst hit after the same area was also struck by a magnitude 5.2 earthquake on Monday. In a dramatic footage captured by N1, Petrinja Mayor Darinko Dembovic was giving a press conference on camera about the previous day's smaller earthquake when Tuesday's earthquake struck. He described the widespread devastation to his town in a statement broadcast the day after. Croatian Prime Minister Andrej Plenković and other government ministers arrived in Petrinja after the earthquake. Prime Minister Plenković said it was clear as day that Petrinja was no longer safe for human habitation, while European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen posted on Twitter that she had talks with Mr. Plenković and that help was on its way to member state Croatia. After touring Petrinja, Croatia's President Zoran Milanovic said that buildings damaged in the earthquake would be repaired, but that fear was the biggest problem, with residents saying that the quake felt worse than a war. The town was left with no electricity or running water as officials and the army scrambled to set up temporary accommodation and use barracks for all of the displaced residents in need, as residents refused to stay inside their homes for fear of another earthquake. William?
All right, Marvy, thank you for that report live from Australia. A court in Moscow has approved the arrest of former priest Nikolai Romanov, also known as former priest Sergei, on Tuesday, giving police the authority to detain Romanov with charges including inciting minors to commit suicide. Nina Bascon will tell us why.
Former priest Sergei or Nikolai Romanov was detained on Tuesday, December 29, in the territory of the Central Urals Women Monastery, which he illegally took over this year. It was reported in June this year that the former priest took over the Sredny Urals convent, where he refused to leave the place after he was barred from preaching and been excommunicated by the Russian Orthodox Church. Romanov denied the existence of the COVID-19 pandemic and made a statement in one of his sermons that authorities were trying to drive the Russians into an electronic satanic camp under the guise of a coronavirus pandemic.
He also encouraged the congregation to disobey health protocols and even persuading minors to commit suicide. The former priest also demanded for Russian President Vladimir Putin to hand over his powers. The arrest made on early hours of Tuesday has caused some clashes between Sergei's followers and the police force, leading to injuries of some people, including 3 nuns, while Romanov supporters gathered around the courthouse to conduct protests on his arrest, chanting that they are with him. The ex-priest told officials during the court session on Monday that he is innocent, but still faces 4 to 10 years of imprisonment. Romanov was also known to be a former police officer and has spent 13 years in prison for assault, robbery, and murder conviction and was later released in 1990. Nina Bascon, UNTV News and Rescue. We serve the people. We give glory to God.
WhatsApp update will permanently shut the application down on older devices as soon as 2021 starts. Early Briones will tell us why live.
WhatsApp has announced that it will withdraw its support for millions of smartphones and will soon be releasing a software update that will permanently disable access to it, starting this January 1, 2021. This announcement means that certain Android and iPhone devices which cannot support an up-to-date operating system will lose total compatibility for the application. Some devices affected include iPhones 1 to 4, Samsung Galaxy S2 and older models, and any other Android devices released before 2010. According to the WhatsApp website, the Android and iPhone devices have to be upgraded to Android OS 4.0.3 and later, and iOS 9.0 and later. Unless users can upgrade to these operating systems, they can have no choice but to swap to newer, more updated smartphone models. Otherwise, they will lose all their data and chat histories, even with proper backup. These software updates is not new to the WhatsApp history and is actually their latest move in a series of app withdrawals. The software has already been withdrawn from numerous devices in 2016 and all Windows phones in 2019. Ben Wood, a CCS Insight analyst, stated that the changes are necessary in order to keep the security and safety of the services of the software. Majority of the 2 billion WhatsApp users will not be affected by the new update and terms and conditions, although the small fraction of millions of consumers will have to deal with this setback as they enter 2021. Kat?
Thank you, Early Briones, reporting live from Australia.
And those are the reasons behind the news. December 30, 2020. I'm Angelo Castro III.
Reasons we deliver to you as they unfold. I am Pat Dumaraos, sitting in for Harleen Delgado, live from Bangkok, Thailand.
Because we need to know, we will always ask why. I am William Theo. We serve the people. We give glory to God.